How do we continue to thrive and survive in a marketplace that sees, significant consolidation and or change? We have to constantly be pushing the status quo.
Welcome to another episode of Friday Five with Dave Adams. Today's conversation will be with Kris Lewis, who is CEO, and Jennifer West, who is Vice President of Operations at Allegan Community Federal Credit Union. The credit union holds $68 million in assets and serves 8,900 members. We're going to continue the conversation about what constitutes a great company culture, how we manage the various facets of human resource management, and how we're navigating through this very challenging COVID crisis to do all that in the most innovative ways while putting our employees first. I know you're going to enjoy the conversation with Kris Lewis and Jennifer West. Well, Kris and Jennifer, welcome to Friday Five. It's great to have you on.
Thank you.
Great to be here, Dave. Thank you.
So we're continuing on with our series about organizational culture and managing the various facets of human resources in a very challenging environment. And what I'm looking forward to in this conversation, Kris and Jennifer, is Allegan Community Federal Credit Union has been a very fast growing credit union, still a small credit union by definition with 65 million or 68 million in assets, but you put up impressive numbers and you don't really seem like a small credit union in the way you operate. You think big and your growth has been impressive, both membership and assets. So from a smaller credit union perspective, nonetheless, as we talk about this important topic of creating a great culture, starting with you, Kris, what are your thoughts? What goes into creating a great organizational culture for Allegan?
Yeah, thanks, Dave. It's funny, I've been short my whole life and, I never say we're small. So I'd like to think we're $1 billion credit union just trapped in a small credit union body.
I love it.
From a cultural standpoint, team is always important to us. Focusing and building an amazing team to do amazing things is what the strength of Allegan has been around. I like to say we like to hire the smile. So getting that attitude just right and then training them to do good things makes our credit union what it is today. We've got some great tools that we've used in the past to help us identify good characters that we can bring into the fold and help us be successful. So, Jen is my VP of Ops. She does an amazing job of, on the HR side of things, helping us bring in tremendous talent, getting them trained up and allowing us to have the success that we have over the last couple of years. And then it really is a top-down type of a group. We all have to be connected from our board to, the tellers and everybody in between. We want to keep silos at bay. And so in order to do that, we have to have excellent communication from top to bottom. And that's, a great recipe that's really helped us drive where we are today.
Jen, you got a good intro there from the boss. So we would love to hear your perspectives on what goes into creating a great culture.
Yes, thank you. We've been trying to drive home a work-life balance. There is a lot going on at the credit union. As you said, we have grown tremendously and there's always something to do, always something new, always a change is coming around, and that creates a lot of stress. And we know that we have a business to run, but life is hard. We're all human. We all have our own experiences, and we want to show our employees that as life happens, there's no perfect answer, and it's okay to go with the ups and downs as you have it. And we like to make a plan together and move forward. Maybe we're not necessarily on the exact same path, but we're all working towards the same goal. So encouraging them to live their life and do what they need to in and out of the credit union has been really important.
And Kris, I'm going to have to check my comments, and we may or may not have to do an edit, but I hope I said smaller credit union rather than small. It's all a matter of perspective, right? I talk with some leaders of billion-dollar shops, and they consider themselves small in the realm of financial services organizations. So we'll stick with smaller, but for a smaller credit union, nonetheless, I think, keeping in mind that where your credit union is at, you're pretty much around the median average size for Michigan credit unions. So half of our credit unions, I think, are under 80, 85 million. And so I think there's a lot of interest in the realm of smaller credit unions to understand how a lot of these issues are approached. And so with that in mind, are there differences? You've worked for larger credit unions in your career, and now you're leading one that is growing like gangbusters, but still considered smaller. So are there differences in your mind with how you approach culture?
You know, it's interesting, Dave. I think if I were to talk, I mean, I do. I talk to a lot of CEOs of, billion-dollar organizations, hundreds of millions of dollar organizations. Technically, we all have the same problems. I think it comes down to the economies of scale is just a little bit different. I think one of the advantages of being a small asset size organization is the ability to be nimble and quick. And I think with COVID, we were exposed to all of us having to make very difficult decisions in a very I want to almost say a vacuum, but small spaces, and how do we overcome some of the obstacles that we were all going to be faced with. And being a smaller institution, we were, I was able to snap my fingers and pull our executive team into a room really quickly and be proactive in how we were going to approach dealing with the COVID responses. And so human resources obviously being the biggest piece to that, when we were talking about human capital and how to manage that, it was, we first and foremost was the safety of our employees. How do we make sure that they're safe, their families are safe? And so, building policies and procedures around that allowed us to be, in the right frame of mind when it came to closing our branches when we had to close and clean, and then reopening our branches back up to serve our membership, and then creating the communication that was effective in allowing our members to understand how we were going to operate moving forward. But again, being small and nimble, I think that allowed us to be very proactive in how we were going to thrive and survive in a new environment.
So that's great. Jen, add to this discussion, if you would. Being a smaller credit union, I would guess that one of the advantages is that your team is closer knit. In some ways, it might be easier to create that sense of family in the culture. Is that right? Maybe talk about what you see as some of the pros and cons of dealing with the culture issue at a smaller credit union.
I absolutely think that being a smaller credit union has enabled us to treat each other like family. And I think that's one of the challenges that we faced was we just love being close to each other. We are close emotionally, we're close physically. Our whole credit union is open. And I think, as we interview our employees, as their careers go on at the credit union, they really love that sense of family and the sense of closeness that they get. And I think that it has been a big plus for this crazy COVID environment, because we're all moving together and we all see the same things. And because I have this rapport built with you and this trust in that you're going to do your job and I'm going to do mine. It's been not easy, but it's been helpful, and we all move together, and it's been really a pleasure seeing the challenges that we have had to face and seeing how we all are moving together as a big organization in a small credit union body.
That's great. In my position, I get to make snap judgment calls on things with very little experience, because so I can describe what it's like to be a smaller credit union, and I don't have that experience. But my perception is this: pretty much everything is more challenging for a smaller credit union in terms of resources. You don't have a chief culture officer. You don't have a big HR department. But the flip side is that in many ways, it's probably easier to create that sense of family. And in many ways, it's easier to really deliver on member service because of the size differences. So Kris, maybe talk about the intersection between how you treat your people and the culture versus how that translates into great member service.
Yeah, David, you're 100% correct. And what Jen was alluding to is that we're very intimate with each other. When you have that small group of people, it allows you to have that closer bond. And I think that has been a huge success for us during COVID, interacting with the staff in that way. You know, I'm a big believer in building teams and, you know, putting the right people in the right spots and coaching and developing. You know, we spend a tremendous amount of time, you know, setting specific measures for our team members, holding them accountable for those results. And I believe that recipe leads to an engaged team member. And when they're engaged, our members are more engaged. And so we have a very structured plan that we've been following for a while. And I think that has always translated well to, you know, stronger member service bonds. And, you know, our growth is a direct reflection of that. So if we can be more connected to our members, we're going to see more products and services come in. We're able to, we have a real passion for our community as well, always looking for avenues. COVID obviously put a big bind in that. We were celebrating 75 years last year. We were so excited. We even had a beer company going to make a beer for us. So hopefully we can celebrate that with 76 years, but it's that kind of commitment to the employee, pouring ourselves into them at every opportunity leads to just such an amazing member experience. And, you know, I don't know how many phone calls I get, you know, I love so-and-so on your team. I love the work ethic they have. I love them, you know, going above and beyond. And I think that is a direct reflection of us training them, holding them accountable, giving them, you know, specific or SMART goals. And, you know, they have a sense of pride and passion for what they do. And that just leads to amazing things with our members.
As CEOs, that's so gratifying when we have members or customers letting us know about an incredible service experience. It makes you feel like something's going right. And certainly that's the case with Allegan. So Jen, let's go to that second question about when you look at human resource management and all the different facets of it, from creating the job description and hiring and the orientation and the development and managing compensation and benefits and of course culture. What are some of the human resources functions at your credit union that you find to be maybe most important right now or most challenging?
So yeah, we actually just hired a new HR rep last year, and she's been getting her feet wet, and she's been a great addition to our team and helping organize basically as we have grown. You know, when I started at the credit union, I kind of just walked up to the teller line and they taught me how to push the buttons and count the money. And so we've gotten more organized and strategic about how we onboard and hire. And so having her drive that home, and she finds a passion in helping people build careers. And so really she's gotten into a lot of coaching. And so I think the most important part of managing all of our employees, period, is being present and being able to give them genuine feedback on how to be better, whether what they're doing is good and let's implement that in other ways, or maybe this could have gone better. And here's how I think that we can move forward. How do you think we can move forward? And so we've really leaned into how are we there in a COVID environment where we have to be more remote? How do we make sure that we're there and be present and give them that very specific feedback to help them be better?
Kind of feeds into what Kris was saying a minute ago. Kris, you were talking about clear accountability. And so with employees, as simple as it sounds, regardless of the position, laying out on the front end and maybe on a continuous basis what the expectations are, and then measuring results and giving feedback. So important. What are your thoughts, either adding to that or other kind of challenging HR functions, the things that you maybe worry about the most when it comes to managing and working with people?
Yeah, I think in the environment that we're in, we've been exposed to, you know, are we doing it the right ways? Is all our processes and procedures in place correctly for, you know, an organization serving people? And, you know, I think it really put our pen to paper in really scribing out what we want to do moving forward and serving our employees. To Jen's point, you know, we've done a good job of getting away from just here's your teller drawer and congratulations, welcome to the team, to, you know, spending weeks with the team, you know, culturalizing them, getting them up to speed on, you know, not just our credit union, but also the industry, and talking about, you know, how the market is working. And I think that's important from the aspect of not just knowing how to balance a drawer, but also, do you understand our industry? Do you understand where it's going? Do you understand our trajectory? And then, sprinkling in our culture along the way so that they have a clear picture of what Allegan is about, where we're going, our direction as well. And I think having a well-educated employee just lends itself to a much stronger relationship and stronger bond with our member. So
Really,
we've been blessed for doing some good things.
that's really well said. Having a well-educated employee creates that bond, and it's the beginning of the recipe for success. So let's talk about COVID a little bit. In some ways, I realize we're kind of all getting tired of talking about what a tough 14 months this past year has been, or whatever. But I know there are silver linings. I know there are positives. There are lessons learned that are coming out of this environment. Maybe starting with you, John. Talk about some of the things that you think you're going to learn and institutionalize even after the pandemic is behind us with regard to culture. John?
So one of the biggest challenges, like I said, is we're close and we had to learn how to not be. How do we keep our culture without being physically close? And, I don't know, personal opinions aside, I think it's something that we're going to have to live with moving forward. And so we have to do more. We've done onboarding virtually. We've done staff training days virtually. And so we really want to take this virtual environment and implement it across our credit union. We do want people to be able to be close. We want everyone in branch. We want to be able to feed off each other's energy and build on each other's ideas. And so I think we're beefing up some things to make sure that we can continue to do both. And it's interesting to see the response from our staff about total virtual. They're very resistant to it. But like I said, that staff training day we did, it was fantastic. It was well received. We incorporated fun, we incorporated role playing, and just made everything interactive. And it was really eye-opening that no, it's okay. These are challenges that we had expected to face, and we overcame them, and it was a positive experience. So we want to take that and move that forward in future trainings and onboardings.
That's great. So Kris, what are your thoughts on some of the things that will be institutionalized or that will be learned that will make the credit union better as a result of this environment?
Well, I think from the get-go, I think it really shines lights on organizations that are adaptive and able to embrace change and as an opportunity versus, sitting by the sidelines and waiting for things to happen to them. I think our team is blessed that we're, all pretty proactive and looking for ways to use this as an advantage versus a disadvantage. I tend to be probably over-optimistic most of my life, Dave. So, it's my cross to bear. A little one of those things I have to work through sometimes and say, okay, there's going to be some bad things, but we'll get through it. But COVID, I think it shone a light on something that we have to do a better job of looking in the mirror and saying, how do we serve our employees? How do we serve our members through digital channels? We were exposed on a couple things with our technology, which allowed us to, come back to the table and say, we need to get better at e-services. And we had a stellar year. I mean, we had one of our best lending years. We had significant, we still open membership accounts. We had, one of our best ROAs on history. And so I look back at that and say, we could have buried our head in the sands, but we didn't. We said, okay, how are we going to expose the opportunities and serve our members in the new capacity? And we did. And we didn't let the little things stop us. So, yeah. We leaned into it.
I love your references to agility and kind of realizing, okay, when we had to move fast, we did. And I really think that credit unions of all sizes, that this is helpful because we can challenge ourselves to say, this shouldn't take 6 months. Remember when we had to go completely remote and take care of our members at the drop of a hat. So John, let's talk about work from home or hybrid work from home for your credit union. Do you see the end result being certain positions being able to work from anywhere or work from home as opposed to being in the office moving forward?
So we have talked at length about this. We're still kind of like up in the air. I mean, COVID is still around. There's still concerns. There's still health concerns. And so by upgrading like our phone system and our computer system, we want to be able to offer the ability for any position to work from home. We truly believe in being present physically in the credit union. So we're working how to space each other out. We've reconfigured our office to allow for, more social distance. We're requiring masks and disinfecting, of course. And, but we know that this is not going away. And so if I need to send my collections person home, we want to be able to give them that opportunity. And by incorporating, I guess like this hoteling idea of I can plug and play anywhere. My phone system can transfer calls between devices. It's, something that our credit union has looked towards and is now pushing forward. I can now send anybody home to work, and even the front facing team. We decided that our tellers can be call center people, as we have to force people more home, and that inherently means more phone calls. And so we can allow everyone to keep providing exceptional service, maybe not face to face, but I can do it over the phone, and I can feel like I'm contributing, and I can feel like I'm helping push everything at the credit union forward, even though everything seems to be shutting down. So I think this is going to be around long term for us. And we're really truly trying to figure out how can we make any position work from anywhere right now.
Yeah, so Kris, your thoughts here. I mean, with one thing that's unique about financial services and credit unions as part of that is you really have, if you're committed to having branches and physical facilities, you have to have people there with the human touch. But so many other positions can be considered for work from home. What are your thoughts in adding to what Jen said about that?
Yeah, we said we can pretty much have anybody work from home. So as Jen alluded to, we're putting computers, laptops in everybody's hand. We're switching our phone system so you can have a soft phone from your laptop. Because if we, I'm not gonna say when, but or if it's gonna be a when this happens again, how do we serve people and not have any gaps? And this is, again, I look at it as a positive. It just, again, it exposed something for us and gave us a roadmap that we can change and be more adaptive, be nimble, be quick to make sure we're not losing opportunities to serve the membership. So, we poured resources into, the tech side. And I know sometimes the fallout for being a small institution is your economies of scale. So the ability to go out and purchase a whole new phone system or purchase laptops for your staff can be very, very difficult. But, in the same breath, if we're not going to do those changes, if we're not going to make the necessary inputs, our outputs are going to be poor. And so we want to make sure what we're doing is for the longevity of our organization, because we want to be around for a long time to serve our members. Keep in mind, we're in a rural environment. So, technology in itself is not great in Allegan. I mean, you have, small pockets that don't have access to cell towers or to internet. And so you're right, we still have to have brick and mortar to serve those people. And we're going to have to keep a few of those lobbies open and serving the person that can't get served. But it is a different way to look at it. And again, we're going to pour a lot more resources and continue to serve people on the digital side.
I really think that credit unions of all sizes are trying to get their hands around what the future is going to look like with a hybrid work from home approach, because you have many larger credit unions that have created these really attractive headquarters, fostering a culture for their employees, providing all kinds of benefits, not unlike Silicon Valley companies. And now you have that running up against employees who really have an expectation to be able to work from home in certain positions, either partially or entirely, and partially or entirely. And so I think there's going to be a lot of experimentation, and it's not really a size issue. It plays into this whole conversation about culture. Who do we want to be, and how do we want to serve our members? But it's going to be interesting to see how it evolves. So the last question, let's just segue. And Jen, I'll give you the first shot at this, and then give the boss the last word, so to speak. And that is, when you think about innovation or disruptive things, not necessarily completely focused on HR, but just for your credit union and what you're doing, what you're looking at doing, some of the creative, more outside the box things that come to mind. Jen, what are your thoughts on that?
So this is specifically with HR and our employees. And we recently this year, we've been surveying our employees. We're always asking, how can we be better? And they always want more training. They always want more communication. But one thing that they've been asking for a lot recently is like time off. And we keep asking ourselves, at what point do you get enough time off? But just to help with that work-life balance, recently we came up with an idea to offer our employees a life event PTO. So they get their normal paid time off that is for, you know, their mental health days, their actual sick days, their vacations. And we want to encourage them to take those days off, especially with COVID now. We're trying to ask them to stay home more. You got the sniffles, we don't want you in here. We don't want to expose our members or employees to a higher risk of health issues. So stay home and seeing them struggle with maybe balancing, like, I'm taking all my time off. We decided to offer this life event PTO where they can still do that. And they can have the specific days set aside for life events that may, like a wedding. My brother's getting married or my niece is graduating. We want to be able to offer them a bucket of PTO where they can dip into if those events happen, so that they can continue to balance their work and their life and go out and have fun and stay home if they need to.
That's an innovative idea. Maybe expand a little bit. I love the idea of life event designated PTO days, because it conveys to our employees that we do care about that work-life balance, and that there are many things like that that come along that you have to tend to. My question is, will certain days be designated solely for that, or is that the approach, or how does that work?
Yeah, so we have defined a certain number of events. This is brand new. It's something that we're testing this year to see what the response is and what the financial implications, I guess, are going to be. So there's certain life events. So you have to buy a car, everyone, or you're moving, or graduation, immediate family members graduating, or things that it's a little, you want to go, you want to be part of your family and things that come up, but using your so precious PTO to go and, you know, do something like a niece's graduation, it can be hard to swallow. So we decided that there are certain events that if this happens in your life, we will give you an extra day of PTO that you don't have to dip into your regular PTO bucket for.
That's great. It sounds like it's an extension of bereavement pay, but for happier events, and that's wonderful. So Kris, let's talk about, you have the last word here on innovation and disruption. And I have to tell you, I've always admired the way you've approached your role at Allegan, having come from two larger credit unions, and you come in with just lots of positivity and lots of passion for what you do with your team. And I'm just kind of curious to have you talk a little bit about how you approach innovation and disruption right now.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think that's kind of the buzzword of the day, right? Is disruption. You know, we've seen it over the last decade with various companies, whether it's Uber or, you know, Netflix, or these companies that have put other companies out of business because they sit on their heels. You know, one of the things I've always preached is change is constant, and if we're not changing, we're going to die. So, you know, I think it's always something when we're in our executive meetings and we're talking about our growth and where we want to go. It's that we cannot do it like we've always done it, and how do we continue to thrive and survive in a marketplace that sees, you know, significant consolidation and or change. And, you know, we have to constantly be pushing the status quo. How are we going to be better? How are we going to be different? But at its core, Dave, you know, my success and the success of our organization has always been driven by the people around me. Certainly, I can motivate and I can, you know, try to rah everybody. But at the end of the day, if you don't have good people around you helping push and carry the loads, you just won't have success. And so I've been blessed that, you know, I've been able to surround myself with amazing people doing amazing things. And, you know, I think that is a disruption in itself. I think a lot of people go away from some of that old school mentality of, you know, people like to do business with people they like. And I still believe, and I'm holding on to that. And, you know, our success that we've had is driven by that. And again, I look back at my career over the last 15, 16 years, and, you know, in whatever organization, large or small, it's been because of the people that's around me. And I anticipate we're going to be in the same boat moving forward, continue to have success because of those people.
What a great wrap up. You know, we have that ageless adage of people helping people, defining credit unions, but we're talking about culture in this series, and culture is a business buzzword. The reality is it is all about people. It's all about creating a work environment where people feel respected and valued. And what you just said is what we as leaders try to convey, and we try to walk that talk. Very, very well said. Well, Kris Lewis, Jennifer West, thank you so much for being on Friday 5. It's been a great discussion.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Well, another great conversation about organizational culture and the various facets of human resource management that helps us do what we need to do as organizations to attract and retain good talent. I really liked Kris's early comment about hiring the smile, and Jen's emphasis on fostering a great work-life balance. And although the credit union is a smaller credit union with $68 million in assets, we learned that there are actually some positives and some advantages of being smaller in terms of creating that sense of family and perhaps providing a level of member service that is sometimes challenging as organizations get larger. I love the emphasis on coaching and development, accountability and engagement. And clearly, Kris and Jennifer are working with their team at Allegan to do all of the things that are important to move the credit union forward and to help it grow and thrive in the future. So thanks again to Kris Lewis and Jennifer West from Allegan Community Federal Credit Union. And thanks for watching Friday 5 with Dave Adams.